Hey everyone, it's PL Stewart here, and I am back for another spontaneous review. Really enjoying making reviews via this method on YouTube. And it's funny, it takes a lot to write reviews. I try to put a lot of thought into it. My written reviews are rather long. This is a really nice, just an alternative method, a really nice change too, just to kind of just randomly come on and chat about a book and articulate my thoughts. I know it's not as cohesive as writing a formal, detailed written review, but I am really enjoying this. I will do some written reviews, of course, still, but I really am enjoying just spontaneously coming on. And as I think about a book, just, okay, this is a book I want to talk about. I haven't written up a review yet, so I just pop on a video. So really enjoying this, and I hope you are too and getting something out of it. So today, this evening, I will be talking about Steven Erikson, House of Chains. Apologies, gonna have to fix that. There's some glare on my camera. This is House of Chains. It is the fourth book in the Malazan, however you'd like to pronounce it. I apologize. I really should recall, any time that I've had the privilege of speaking with Steven Erikson, how he pronounces it. I'll probably just consult my esteemed friends, Philip Chase and AP Canada, who are experts in all things Malazan. So this book so far is my favorite in my Malazan journey. And I'll be mentioning some things about the plot, obviously, and the characters and the themes and various aspects of this book, but this book for me was about one thing, and that's KARSA Orlong. KARSA Orlong is thus far, out of a lot of incredible characters, this is my favorite character so far in the Malazan universe. And perhaps one of the reasons for that is, there are many reasons. However, I think this is the first time since I've started reading Malazan that I've seen Steven Erikson concentrate, not exclusively. Steven Erikson provides an extremely well-rounded, extremely deep, absolutely sprawling, massive character list. Okay, hundreds and hundreds of characters, and one of his immense skills is the ability to make the reader connect with so many characters over such a huge series, sprawling thousands of years and different continents, and it's so many races and cultures. It is a real skill. That said, KARSA Orlong just struck a chord with me that I have not yet experienced in the Malazan reading that I've done. And I've only read Steven Erikson, not Ian Esselmont, which I'll have to rectify. I keep reminding myself of that there are two actual main creators of the Malazan universe, and I do have to read Ian C. Esselmont. Every time I watch the esteemed Philip Chase's videos, I keep reminding myself that I need to get that other series, all the other works from Esselmont, to complete that holistic look at the Malazan universe in terms of what's available. So this book, so I will talk a bit about the plot. There's a lot going on here. The Seven Cities Rebellion is part of this book. The new adjutant for the Empress is planning to take an army and face down the army of the apocalypse. So there's a lot of fallout from the Chain of Dogs, and Malazan fans know what I'm talking about. This was a powerful book. It is there's a lot of focus on the new adjunct, who is Tavor Paran, and there is a lot of emphasis on Tavor's army and all the characters within that army. Some of them are familiar characters that we know. There's a lot of great character development in this book. Of course, you have the incredible action, just the heartbreaking and heart wrenching, stories of because a lot of this is military fantasy. Um, there's so much to talk about here, but I mean, really and truly, what I really came here to talk about today is is KARSA. So who is KARSA? Why am I seem so obsessed with this character? Um, so essentially, he is part of the race called the Templar. Um, he's a warrior from the Erd tribe. So he lives in this uh, plateau type area on the edge of this main continent in the Malazan world, Janabakis. He is in his amongst his people. He's still young, but their lifespan, they have a long lifespan. So he's actually 80 years old. He's a monster. He is this huge man. He's 7 foot tall, totally buff, bulging muscles. He is just a beast, and he wields an ironwood sword, and that's his main weapon. He is someone who he's very confident. He starts off extremely arrogant, and a lot of that is because his fighting skills are superlative. I don't know. I would love to see watch a video. I'll have to search for it. If there is a ranking officially, a hierarchy, perhaps asking someone like Philip Chase or AP Canavan, please check out the channels, by the way. They're amazing booktubers. If there's a hierarchy of who's the most powerful, the best fighter in the Malazan universe, I think that'd be a cool video. Maybe Philip or AP might be someone who could talk about that. Probably Philip. But this guy he's a killer. Okay, he's lithe. He's light on his feet, but he is a walking killing machine. His speed, his endurance. He is just, he is formidable. So he is someone who is a very complicated and controversial character, and I have to say that for those of you who've read it, this takes me back to my youth days when I really started to enjoy fantasy. One of my favorite, some of my favorite books to read were Conan the Barbarian by Robert E. Howard. And most who've heard of Conan the Barbarian, if they haven't read the books, they watch some of the movies. You probably watched some of the old movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and maybe some of the updated ones. But yeah, Conan the Barbarian. That's who KARSA reminds me of, and I'm sure that it's a common comparison because so much about this book is about KARSA, and Erikson gives us a huge the lion's share of the POV. It's the first time I've ever really seen this so far in my Malazan journey. And remember, I'm only 4 books in, but for the most part, Erikson has not focused on a single character this much in Malazan since I started reading. But he did this time. I tell you, I loved it. I couldn't get enough of KARSA. So going back to the Conan Barbarian comparison, this is all about KARSA, someone who's considered a barbarian. He and his tribes would be considered barbarians by a lot of the Malazan empire. That he's someone who is a barbarian coming into contact with the rest of the world. And when his world and that other world meets, what happens? And it's explosive. I think this is where Steven Erikson has a background in anthropology, and this is where I mean, I'm not saying I hadn't seen it before, with the myriad of races and cultures and things, as I talked about in this series. But this is where I think it really shone, his background in anthropology, and just the authenticity with which he created KARSA's people, the traditions, the social norms. It was just phenomenal. Now, KARSA is someone who he starts off as a very unlikable character. He is bloodthirsty. He is power hungry. He does some horrendous things in this book, and that make him very unlikable, if not detestable and deplorable, including, and this is triggers for anybody, including sexual assault and all kinds of horrible things. He is a rampager, a pillager. He cuts this bloody path on this mission that he's on, and he's horrible. I think why we get a chance to see that other side of him is through the interactions with these two friends of his that he goes on this quest on, and his friends are very different from him. They have their own mindsets and viewpoint. They're from his same tribe, and I'm not going to talk too much about it, other than to say that they also play a pivotal role in this book, but they allow us to see, eventually, I think, in a really interesting way, unique way, the other side of KARSA, the potentially sensitive side, the nuanced side, the intellectual side, even but make no mistake, this KARSA is no fool. He's not some simple, quote unquote barbarian. There is even in his when we see him initially, and again, he is highly unlikable. We do see some qualities that we can cling on to for a hope of perhaps a redemption arc, that he may or may not be redeemable, and that he does have some positive qualities: his leadership, his fierceness, his utter determination, and he does have a moral code, and that comes out more and more the more you get to know him. But again, this is a very flawed, complicated character, but his art is just I couldn't get enough of KARSA in this book. I feel like, at the end of the book, a lot of people will end up liking him. And that is because Erikson is a master at showing us all sides of a conflict, all sides of the characters involved in a conflict, and really make it sometimes, again, it's genius, make it almost impossible sometimes to root for any particular side. And KARSA's story is just utterly enthralling. We have some other big characters in this book that are very prominent. I mentioned Tavor, who was Felison, has a major role in this book. Charles Sangar, but this is, for me, this is KARSA's book. This man who's part of this giant tribal race, and he starts out as someone so violent and just so brutal and just so difficult to like. But again, we see as the book goes on this inner sense of almost chivalry and honor, and also a moral code and a compassion, but it's hard to really appreciate that at first, because all he cares about is glory, murder, rampaging, pillaging. And one thing I loved about this book was the theme of how history gets distorted, and are any gods true, or are all gods false? That was a great theme that I really was drawn into in this book. This book was just confoundingly amazing. And I've mentioned before, when it comes to Steven Erikson, and obviously I'm not the first one to say that it was daunting to read Malazan at first because, and I felt really unintelligent and really, I felt, this was, I consider myself a somewhat literate, somewhat intelligent person, and when I first started Malazan, I remember reading Garza Moon. I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know what's going on, and one thing that I learned that I should have known better, that with authors, this was obviously, this series was massive and came with so much hype prior to me going in. So many people I respected raved about this series, such as the Phillips and the APs, and I was so determined to give this shot. And as I went on in the series, I certainly found so much to love this. It is definitely going to be in my top 20 to probably last 10 series of all time for fantasy, for traditional published fantasy. But at first it was really daunting and I was really confused. But what I should have known, and this what I should have known is to trust the process. To trust the process, that there's a reason why people love this series, why it's so beloved, why it gets so many accolades, why it's frequently mentioned in the top fantasy series of all time by so many people. And you just have to trust the process. You have to trust Steven Erikson. He's a brilliant writer. He knows what he's doing. And the complexity of this world is something that you can't help appreciate. The more you read, the depths of the characterization, that the absolutely enormous, ambitious craziness of how big this world is, and how well thought out. But again, this book, I loved it. This was my favorite book so far, Malazan. And I never thought I was going to find another character that would replace Rake for me. And Amanda Rake he's my guy, right? He's my favorite character. But KARSA Orlong, he's the guy. And I think that if you get this far in Malazan and you get to this book, I think it's going to be a real treat for you to see KARSA's arc, and he really steals the whole book. This is KARSA's book. Malazan, Erikson continues to dazzle me with his prose. There were moments when I was like, wow. Some of the passages, he just knows how to write passages that stay with you forever. The interaction with the characters, the things they say. There's some lines in there that you're never going to forget. They just resonate with you. And I really do feel like like this ability for him to speak with such authority on cultures and different races because of his anthropological background is really shining through in this book. For me, anyways. It wasn't there before. This is shining through. This is a book about prophecy. This is a book about symbolism. This is a book about deep mysteries. But the heart of this is still very much, for me, military fantasy, and the relationships between soldiers, camaraderie, and the horrible cost of war, for all sides. And there's some. I tell you, there is a confrontation in this book that was building for a while, and when it happens near the very end of the book, I mean, it's absolutely earth-shattering. And the poignancy and the emotion, because of who the two people involved are, is just, again, I continue to be amazed by Erikson's brilliance. And this book really, really has made me think a lot about why Malazan is so great. And ultimately for me, I'm a character-based reader, and this book gave me certainly many characters, but the one character that was just a showstopper, and that was KARSA. So this is my review, my thoughts of Steven Erikson's House of Chains. I will be continuing Malazan. obviously, I'm still fairly early on, and everybody tells me I don't even know what's coming yet. I have so much more to look forward to. So, but this was great, and I truly enjoyed, reading this book. And I know that this is one of the books that will stay with me in terms of, irrespective of the rest of my reading of Malazian. This one will stay with me for a long time. I just want to quickly say that I had there was a comment here, a couple comments. I think it was Bob. The comments section. My button is stuck here, but he did mention that about KARSA. He was speaking about KARSA, and I apologize, Bob. I'm going to try and get that comment going. Yep, there we go. It's my ineptitude. Sorry. So Bob says KARSA is a barbarian, yet being one of the few to actually voice out what will happen to Fellowson Younger, unlike everyone else. Part of some revolution to help the people. So great a contrast. Well said. Bob literally said, "Oh, no, you didn't. You're not late at all, my friend. No, thanks. I'm just honored that you tuned in to listen." So again, this was a spontaneous thing. Decided to throw up this review. But yeah, I hope I get the sense you're probably a Malazan expert, so you probably know a lot more than I do about the series. But yeah, no, your comments are very welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. So that is my review, my quick review of House of Chains. And thanks so much for listening. I hope everyone's doing well, and have a wonderful